So yes, I'm program manager for enterprise fellowships, and I'm joined today by Maria Cerezo Sanchez, who is CEO of Spinout from the University of Glasgow, Neurobyte. Then Yanni Spinout Heiko, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, from the University of Aberdeen, and Daniel Batista Salinas, CEO of a Spinout from the Imperial College London, and the Spinout is called, Symmetry Surgical. Right, so I will ask each of you for a quick intro. So if you could of course, let us know who you are, give us a little info on your Spinout, and maybe, my first question as part of the intro, what motivated you to actually to spin out, to lead a venture? So we'll start with ladies. Maria, do you want to kick us off? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Hope everyone can hear me right. So like Ursula said, I'm Maria Cerezo. I am the CEO and co-founder of Neurobyte Technologies. We're a spin-out from the University of Glasgow, developing brain implants to help people that have epilepsy with their monitoring, and after the job is done, the implants dissolve. And we were incorporated in 2024, so it's been just a little over 2 years now. And the reason why we decided to start the company in the first place was because I was in the middle of my PhD, and as much as I liked academia, I didn't want my technology to stay within the university and just become another academic paper that a lot of people, if you're lucky, cite and get a very good Google Scholar profile, if you will, but then nothing comes out of it in terms of impact and reaching the patients and clinicians that need the technology. So I took the plunge, and I started the company in the middle of my PhD. But yeah, that's me.
Brilliant, thank you, Maria. Shall I go with you, Daniel, next?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Bautista. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Symmetry Surgical. At Symmetry, we're building a robotic platform. So starting with hardware, continuing with software. And what we are trying to do is to make microsurgical applications safer, more consistent, and try to bring them to more people. Why I started doing these? So I wasn't as brave as Maria, so I thought I waited to finish my PhD. But basically, we had a very strong pull from surgeons with whom we had been working during my PhD. They wanted to use the technology. They saw that it could have an impact in the patients that they were working on. And that was a very strong motivation for the founding team. And we decided to start a company.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Daniel. That's already interesting. Two very different motivations. So yeah. And Yanni, what about you?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yanni Shibuya. I'm the CEO and founder of HiCore. So HiCore, what we do is we're developing low-cost off-grid solution for producing e-fuels or low-carbon fuels directly from seawater. So we're solving the problem of extensive resource requirements for e-fuel production, such as water constraints. I guess similar to Maria, I've started this company from my PhD research. So about same timeline as Maria, actually 2 years ago, we founded the company, mostly in name, and then been pursuing commercialization ever since then. I guess the motivation to spin out was partly because necessity. I was coming to the end of my academia and looking for an opportunity to actually apply myself. But really, the core motivation is that I wanted to do more impact. I wanted to move faster. And as many of you might experience, academia or universities can be quite slow and bureaucratic. And so I found more impact I can do more impact in the private sector than in the public sector. And just like Maria said, just having more research papers, actually developing a product and bringing it forward is kind of the motivation for me.
Perfect. Thank you, Yanni. Actually, so that leads me to a question I was going to ask a bit later on. But sort of what are your views, especially that all of you have been doing this, for a while? Was the kind of, the difference in terms of the mindset, sort of researcher versus, business leader, co-founder or founder? Maria, do you want to
Yeah, sure. I think I've used this analogy quite a few times, but I just really like it. The fact that I see that the technology as an onion, and essentially, if you're in academia, you try to add complexity, add innovation, and put more layers to the onion. Whereas in commercialization, in a spin-out, in a startup, you want to get to the core of the onion. So essentially, get to what's good enough without being too fussy about it. Just get it to the market first and validate it. So test fast, fail fast, and it's a very different approach to academia in that sense. Also, I feel like, again, the mentality on what's the outcome for academics versus in a startup or in a spin out is very different. In academia, you again want to publish as much as possible, high impact factor journals, etc. But in a startup, in a spin out, what you want is the product to reach an end user and a customer. So it's a quite different set of mentalities that you've got to have. So yeah, it takes a while to make that shift, I would say. But yeah, I don't know if Yanni or Danny have any other views.
About
No,
what do you
I
think? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Danny. Yeah.
I would fully agree with what Maria is saying. Like, we are still facing the same sort of problems. We just conducted our first preclinical evaluation with our device, and we found ourselves having these long discussions on how the paper would be better and how could we improve the paper. And then we realized that's not going to take us anywhere. And when you are still in the middle between that entrepreneur and researcher mindsets, it's very easy to default to your academic mindset. But yeah, you have to be very focused in what the product needs to show to patients, to buyers, and not to lose the focus with the little details that sometimes paper includes.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that change. I mean, you recognize that the three of us, when we explain or introduce our technology or companies, we didn't really explain why it works, right? And that's, I think, the biggest change in communication style is you're communicating value rather than the actual scientific result. And so that's a big change from going from academic to commercialization. Because as an academic, your value is that result, right? You want to show everyone, you need to tell everyone that this is how it works. But in reality, in commercial side, you really don't need to go into that depth. I think one of the big key differences, well, in a lot of ways it's the same, right? You're an academic, and Maria highlighted that, you're doing market research. It's the same kind of thing. You have a problem statement, you're doing the research, and you come with the outcome. So academics transitioning to that side is not too different, but it's more of the mindset and positioning. So academic spinouts are typically a really good solution, amazing technology, looking for a problem, rather than and when you to actually have a product, you need to be solving a problem. So a problem looking for a product. And so the biggest part of transitioning, from my point of view, from academic to commercial was, understanding that mindset, or just because the technology is cool or impactful, even in your academic sense, it's not necessarily a good product. And that's a different mindset of thinking.
Yes, absolutely. So my next question here is, to what extent enterprise fellowships, I mean, you completed the program, gosh, just a few weeks ago now, right? So to what extent enterprise fellowships have helped you, sort of along the way, in the sense, of sort of transitioning, sort of changing that mindset? I'll start with you, Daniel.
Sure.
Shall I?
So I think the first very, very useful thing that I got from the program, in general, from the events that we had, was to get a very good broad overview of all the things that are needed to create the company, and to understand how to communicate the value that Jan is talking about, how to raise money, all the kind of different sections that you need to be aware of to build your team. That was something very useful from the program. I think the second thing, probably more important than the first one, was the people that we did the program with. And I think it's kind of useful, or to me was very useful that we were all at different stages. We were from different kind of sectors, and it's very, very helpful to have someone that has already gone through the problem that you are facing, or that you may be facing in month number 6 or in month number 9. And yeah, I would say those are the two main things for us, for me particularly.
What about you, Yanni?
For the enterprise, so I've been on a couple accelerators before, and though a lot of the accelerators are large, have educational aspects to it, but definitely the enterprise fellowship is the most potent, the most applicative one I was on, and as kind of Daniel was saying or alluded to, is giving a lot of context, real life context to what you're expecting, because you're going to this blind. If this is your first time in this kind of sector or doing these kind of things, you're going in blind. And so you need the background context of what is a good deal, how do you negotiate, what do you need to actually run a company, and also the teachers, or particularly Neil, who probably, if you're accepted, will be your main kind of teacher for the first 6 months. He's a real entrepreneur, giving real experiences, and so it gives that depth of knowledge as well. So that's really a large value that came from this program, which no other program I've been before could offer.
And Maria.
Yeah, no, I agree on all the points raised, and I think from my side also the fact that we had a personal coach really helped. So apart from all the training that we get, we are also assigned a personal coach to. Again, I think one key thing to emphasize here is that unlike other accelerator programs, like Yannis mentioned, I've also been through a couple. Those other accelerator programs tend to focus more on the company, whereas this one, the Enterprise Fellowship, is for the individual and how to grow you as an individual to become a better CEO and C-suite enterprise fellow, if you will. So having that personalized help and support to really see what are your exact needs in terms of your own personal and leadership development also really sets this program apart from others. So yeah, I think that was one of the things that really did help me personally to, have someone telling you, you're doing okay, because it can get quite lonely, and especially if you're doing this for the very first time. So having the cohort aspect and also the support on an individual level was also really good.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, I'm very pleased to hear that. And I'm actually wondering, and I think, would be interesting for the benefit of the audience, what was sort of most eye-opening, or kind of the biggest reality check, whilst you were progressing on the program and receiving the training, or anything maybe concerning your mentoring, coaching. I mean, coaching means everything. It's quite sort of personal, confidential, but maybe there is something that you are happy to share with the audience.
I'm happy to go first.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Doesn't speak very well of us, I'd say, but I think so. Unlike Gianni and Maria, who incorporated a couple of years back, we just incorporated at the end of the fellowship. So when we enter into the program, we had just done one very small accelerator. We were purely focused on the technology, and we saw that as the only problem. We had touched very little on all the other aspects of building a business. So yeah, realizing how much it takes to build a business, all the different areas that we had to cover, all the knowledge that we had to build, all the people that we had to talk to, all the books that we had to read. It was quite probably the most eye-opening things the things that came to us in the first weeks of the program.
Thanks, Daniel. Who wants to go next?
I guess I can go next. Kind of following on that, what kind of, I guess, surprised me, eye-opening in development is really how unimportant your research is in terms of in terms of starting a business, and you think that, oh, this is a great idea, it's going to make millions. Okay, how are you going to do that? You know, it's not that easy. You can't just go to someone and sell it. You know, it's a whole, as Annie was alluding to, a lot of background work, a lot of legwork to be done. And so really the technology, actually what it does is not really that important. It's more just what's the value of it at the end of the day, which you can have to be able to communicate. But you know, you'd be surprised, or I was surprised at least, how far you can go without a product. I think for all of us, all three of us here, you know, our technology is quite kind of maybe complex in engineering. It's going to take a long time to get out there and to sell. But you know, we're already at that position where we could raise money, and if not already, then in the coming year, and that's without a product in our hand already. So I think that was most eye-opening, is how far you can go without the technology completely in your hand and ready to sell.
Interesting point. Maria, do you have anything to add?
Well, to add to that, and I completely agree as well. I would say also was very eye-opening how sometimes how quickly things can change for you as a business. So things that you will get taught during the enterprise fellowship, obviously, and you might know this already, but you know, your runway, your cash runway and your cash flows, and just seeing how fast you're burning cash, and trying to sustain your business whilst going through a fundraise and an investment, and having to essentially be not like a CEO is essentially a chief everything officer. So having to do everything all at once, having to do all of the accounting, having to do all of the finance, all of the legal, HR, everything, that's all on you. And again, trying to maintain morale high, it can be, it's very eye-opening to see just how quickly things can change, and you have to be prepared for that reality, and have a plan B, C, D, all the way to Z, I would say.
So yeah, it could be quite a reality check for some in the audience. Hopefully we've not scared you.
Sorry, yeah.
No. I'm thinking, you know, this is on one hand, of course, you know, we're promoting the program, but at the same time, you know, so if we do want to put things into context, you know, in terms of like it is a commitment, right? And whatever comes with that. And you know, and that's, you know, sort of what you've said, you know, complete change of mindset, and the way you look at your technology, your research. And so yes, I'm sure it's very interesting, but I just, you know, so at the same time, if it feels too scary to anyone on in the audience, hopefully not, you know, sort of there is that, you know, sort of element, you know, whether this is the right path for you, and it's absolutely fine if it isn't. But this is really not to discourage you. It's just to sort of, you know, to build a wider picture. So actually, you know, this leads me on to my next question. So what would you say to those who are on the fence, to actually encourage them to sort of follow the commercialization route as a spin out or sort of startup, and to you know, sort of if there's anything, you know, sort of, well, I hope there is, you know, quite a lot positive to share about, you know, the program itself. What would you say to encourage them to go for it?
Go on, Maria. No.
I'd say for me, it can, yeah, obviously if you all ask any of us, we'll be like, oh, this is very stressful and this and that, but it's quite fun. I really like not knowing what each of my days is going to bring me. I'm not the kind of person to sit in an office and just do the exact same thing every single day for the rest of my life. I like to also meet people, and just experience different things, go on journeys and go to other countries, go to hospitals, speak to patients, and seeing firsthand the value of your work, if you will. So on that side, I think that's one of the biggest benefits of a startup, that you feel the impact that you're having, because you're such a small entity. that anything that you do, it can have a very, very big impact on the product, on the technology, and on the people that work around you.
Yeah,
you go ahead, Dan.
Thank you. No, I agree with what Maria says, and I think almost every day you're very close. For me also, we are doing a medical company, so how close we are to patients that we can help, and how fast we are iterating and seeing the result of the work that we do. That's really encouraging. So yes, it is hard, and yes, it is daunting at times, but it is really, really rewarding. And I personally would say it's the most rewarding experience, professionally at least, that I've ever had the experience to live. On the program, what I think I wouldn't be able to name another program that I would do first. I would do the Enterprise Fellowship before any other program for the reasons that we said before, but also for the community that there is around it. I think that's also, if you're doubting whether to apply or not, that's on its own is a good reason to apply. The events that we can attend afterwards, even after finishing the fellowship, and the connections that you had the opportunity to build are invaluable.
Yeah, 100% agree with Daniel's experience. I think it's life-changing because, I couldn't go back to just doing what I was doing before personally. It really is changing. And it really does depend on the person though, because not everyone is suited for being an entrepreneur, because it's a lot of responsibility. It's very high risk, but it's also very high reward. That's the whole point of the startup, is especially a high growth spinouts, so that you have this potential of a very large company. But it's the journey on the way, which is very exciting, as Maria highlighted. Building the team, keep bringing those around you. Doing new experiences, traveling. Very stressful, very, very energy consuming, but it's a experience that you won't never get elsewhere. And especially if you're in a position in life where you have relatively less responsibility, early in your career, and this is the best time to take that big risk. But of course, you also have to reflect on, is this the thing you want to do? Because if you do this program, is there a chance that you're going to leave academia? You're going to change your career pathway. So it can be very encouraging that, yes, I want to change this. I'm sick of academia. Let's pursue something commercial, which I had that thought, and see Maria smile, maybe the same for her. But otherwise, some other people are very comfortable want to be academic and pursue the path of knowledge rather than path of commercial. Nothing wrong with that. And program-wise specifically, yeah, definitely the reason you should pursue this program is one of the best in the UK. I think it was rated top, if not the top recently. Definitely in top 3. Leading up to it, I personally did iCure, which is an Innovate UK one, and that did support the program because it gave me kind of initial market exploration before jumping onto the full commercialization side of things. But it's a fantastic program, and I couldn't speak more highly of it because I've done a couple programs already, and genuinely you won't get an equivalent experience from what I've experienced.
Brilliant, thank you. So I have kind of a couple questions. You've already, sort of touched on those themes, but like one question, or sort of, one bigger question is, sort of short and then long question. Would you sort of, why you chose, when we were actually, sort of applying, and sort of why you selected, or sort of why you chose to apply to Enterprise Fellowships, and why, if you can remember, it might seem a long time ago now, why did you think that was the right time for you to apply?
I thought,
Danny, go first.
yeah, in all honesty, it's always difficult to know if it is the right time or not. Sometimes at least I'm making fast decisions, and I thought this is a great program. I would love to be part of it. I'll let the panel decide whether it's right for me or not. I tried to talk to past members, and it kind of seemed all right, or the right fit. Why to apply for it? It's because I was a researcher, hadn't worked in industry apart from a couple of internship, and I was a peer researcher at the time. I was lacking many skills, and this program seemed to offer those skills that I was lacking.
Oh, yeah. Well, I would say that on my side, I had a bit of a unique position in the sense of I was finishing up my PhD. So then I knew that I wanted to apply to the Enterprise Fellowship because I knew that I wanted to leave academia. So that was already a decision that I had made before. And I essentially needed to find a way to support myself in order to take that step forward. And that's one of the greatest things about the fellowship, that it supports you for an entire year. So your salary is covered whilst you do all of the market exploration and you go through this journey. So for me, it was, again, just a very great stepping stone towards the next part of my career, going again from a PhD candidate and then graduate to industry or like the startup route.
Yeah. My experience, I guess, is more in line with Maria's, where I was PhD coming to the end of it and looking at next steps. I'd done some market exploration programs. I was very keen to continue this, but of course, I didn't have the finances available to just keep going. I didn't have a research position following up at my university at the time. As a student, I couldn't even apply for grants myself. So really, without the fellowship, HighCore wouldn't exist right now, basically, because it gave me the opportunity to support my salary and spend the year educationally and spend the year preparing for launch. So because of the enterprise program now, we have 5 people fully time employed in my company, and we have our own facility, all because of the fellowship. If it wasn't there, then wouldn't have had this opportunity. So it's really the time that it gives you, and of course the salary helps. That's not as not good. The salary does help, but it's the time as well that it gives you to prepare and to think about what you're going to do next.
Yeah, absolutely. We basically, sometimes we actually do say quite literally that we sort of pay for someone's time to focus on the business, really, and that's the truth, and nothing wrong with that. But at the same, so there's a question from the audience, asking basically, whether you already, so full-time entrepreneurs, whether you have left university. I mean, I'm going to build on that, from the sort of program kind of do's and don'ts perspective, but sort of what's your sort of current situation with that? And also another sort of question here, just very, would you, and this is to mostly not so presume anything, would you go back to academia?
I wouldn't.
Okay. Yes.
I can get started with that. Well, I am a full-time CEO and co-founder now, so that's my job. And as soon as I finished my PhD, I started the fellowship literally within a month. So with the fellowship, I became a full-time CEO, and that's just how I got started. I did not have to work alongside. I think the expectation, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ursula, but the expectation is for you to be working full time on this during the fellowship, obviously, because again, the salary is going to support you, is meant there to support you full time. And yeah, like I said before, I personally would not go back to academia because I just really like what I'm doing, and I really enjoy my job, as stressful as it can be or anything, but I wouldn't change it.
About you, Yanni and Dan?
Yeah, so same. So yeah, the day after I finished my thesis in February 2025, full time from there. I just committed myself fully to that. Even before the fellowship, I'm like, well, it's a gamble I'm trying to do, so I'm committing myself. Of course, with the fellowship, it was full-time commitment. But if you do the fellowship, you have to have the mindset that you're not going to be a lab tech anymore or a lab researcher. And it's also a good time to realize what you want or not. We've seen people that prefer to be in a technical person versus commercialization person. But just have the expectation that you're potentially likely, or very, if not likely, to stop being in the lab. And so if you which is fine for me, I don't mind. I did my time, but that's so being full-time commercialization is what I do now. I'm the CEO full-time. I like Maria said, this chief everything officer. I do what I can to support the company and make sure we're getting the funds and the projects can go forward, and communications and marketing and all that stuff, with the support of my team, of course. But the full-time gig. No way could I do research on the side. And I haven't been able to. Even if I wanted to, I would not have the time or resources to go to the lab and take some time, a couple hours out of my day to do that. No way.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I think probably that's one of the hardest things. Like, you don't have time to anything, to do everything that you need to do as a CEO, let alone to do research on the side. As much as I would love to sit down, more time with the tech and do more work, it's not possible. So yeah, in my case, I'm also full-time focused on the company since a year and a half ago now. And yeah, I wouldn't personally go back to academia. Like, probably never was for me, but yeah, I wouldn't go back.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So I'm just going to build on that from the kind of, sort of what sort of applicants and, well, successful applicants are committing to. Yes, we basically, as our guest speaker said, so if we'll be paying your salary, that's the kind of, so that's the kind of split, for the for the grant that comes with the award, which is, well, up to 60K goes towards your salary to pay so to pay for your time to work on the business and on the program on a full-time basis. And then there is that, sort of a 15K or so to cover your business costs. And just to sort of kind of draw a wider picture. I mean, if anyone's got any kind of supervising duties that they can't just sort of, cut themselves off, that's fine. We allow for that, but the expectation is that you will be working on the program and on the business full time, especially for the duration of the year. And also what sort of our guest speaker said is actually to really sort of take a business off the ground. And also when I ran the introductory webinars, I have a slide on sort of expectations, sort of sort of the founder versus TTO versus investor expectation in terms of time commitment. And you will see sort of the kind of the average is that it is full time. We don't want to make it sort of kind of a I don't know, 1.5 sort of FTE, but it is sort of it's a full-time commitment because of actually of how many directions you pull to, and you really and the fact that to make something sort of a success, that focus and that time is actually required. And there is a follow-on from the follow-on question from the audience from Khadija, which I'm going to sort of very quickly respond to. Do you need to set up the spinout before you can apply for the fellowship? No. You have to be in the process of spinning out, so you have to have sort of some provisional agreement for university that they will license the technology to you to form a spin out. But it is very common that sort of you are sort of undergoing that kind of that process.